Reports are coming out about the saga of Jude Bellingham's transfer. It looks like he will be going to either Real Madrid, Liverpool, or Manchester City at the moment. So I'm going to ask the question to you. What club should sign Jude Bellingham this summer?
I'm going to be very honest. There's one team that you name that is starving and desperate of Jude Bellingham's services, and that's Liverpool. Liverpool are so in need and desperate of a midfielder like a Jude Bellingham. Realistically, anybody, any midfielder that of any class. But obviously, Jude Bellingham is the top echelon. He's the top of the pyramid of a young midfield talent in the world of football today. And that would just be the perfect fit. He goes immediately to a club he supported most of his life. It's just depending if Liverpool is willing to put up the money for him, because he's looking like he's going to be 120 to 150 million. But worth every dollar, worth every penny. He's that good of a player. He's not even 20 years old yet. This guy is a generational talent, and he's the most for sure home run signing that you could possibly make right now.
I want to ask you this question before I give my opinion on what club should sign him, because obviously reports are coming out about Real Madrid's interest in Jude Bellingham. It looks like that they are going to go after him this summer, and you're a Real Madrid fan. So what are your thoughts on the transfer saga? Should Florentino Perez and this Real Madrid board be focusing their transfer business on Jude Bellingham?
I think when there's a player of that talent, it's a Galactico type signing. And I answered that mostly, who needs him. I don't think Madrid need him as much as a Liverpool need him. But obviously, when there's that good of a player that's out there and available and who's willing to come to Madrid and come to be a part of that Galactico type system, obviously 100% you go get it. You drop the bank. I mean, like I said, I don't care if it's 120, 150 million. You pay whatever they're asking for, because this guy is going to ensure absolute world-class midfielder for the next 15 years. This is how good this guy can be. And look, I know Madrid have great midfielders. I mean, we have Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Valverde, and we still have an aging Luka Modric, still Toni Kroos, there's Dani Ceballos. We're pretty deep in the midfield, but it's Jude Bellingham. I mean, there is no, I can name all those guys, but Jude Bellingham goes in there, he's the best guy there. So obviously, if he's out there available, you get him. But in the sense of that, sure, I would like Jude Bellingham. Who wouldn't like Jude Bellingham? But in the sense of the question that you asked, who needs him the most, I think it's Liverpool.
So I like the way you answered that, because, of course, all three of these clubs that I mentioned, Liverpool, Real Madrid, or Man City, would love to have Jude Bellingham at the club. That's why they're all targeting him. It's why so many teams in Europe have inquired about Jude Bellingham. It's why he's going to be going for anywhere between 120 to 150 million, because this guy's that good. So which club should sign Jude Bellingham? I think Manchester City should sign Jude Bellingham. Obviously, all three of these clubs should sign Jude Bellingham if they get the chance. But I think out of these three clubs, I look at Manchester City and I say they tick all of the boxes for signing Jude Bellingham. First of all, they have the financial means. They could go all the way up to almost 200 million if they needed to. I mean, this club, they have the money. They have the money, so 150 million wouldn't be a problem for them. And then, you look at this team, you add a Jude Bellingham into this midfield with obviously the Pep Guardiola system, and obviously it looks like Gundogan is going to leave the club in the summer, potentially going off to Barcelona. So they're going to need a midfielder to replace him. And what better way to replace Gundogan than Jude Bellingham?
Jesus Christ.
This guy is a box-to-box player, similar to Gundogan when he was playing for Manchester City. He can score goals, he can defend, he can do it all. So I think ultimately one of the reasons why I say this is because it looks as if at the very moment Arsenal may win the Premier League. And this comes after Man City signed Erling Haaland. So I think Man City, they're going to see Arsenal and they're going to say, we have to do something that's going to overtake Arsenal. And I think signing Jude Bellingham as a big star signing, 120, 150 million, that's going to put Man City, they're going to say, this team is now scary. I mean, you get Haaland, you have Jude Bellingham, you have Kevin De Bruyne, obviously, I mean, this team is absolutely loaded at that point. So I think Man City, they're going to make a splash in this transfer window if they lose out on winning the Premier League. And that's why I think ultimately he will go to Manchester City, because I don't think Real Madrid will pay as much as Man City is willing to pay.
No, I 100% agree. I think Madrid are going to try and pitch him the old take the old discount to come play for the biggest club in Europe. The pedigree, you're guaranteed trophies at Real Madrid. That's what any player goes there, they're guaranteed trophies. But Man City, it's a bit of a different pitch. So, we're going to throw the entire bank. We're going to slide you this blank check. You just write whatever the hell you want on it, because we don't care. We'll make up whatever sponsors we want. We'll get the money. Don't worry about how we're going to get the money. We'll have the money. And to me, that would almost be such a overkill, just because City their team already is good enough to win the Premier League. They've just been a bit poor, a bit, of a system change with Erling Haaland. But to get Jude Bellingham, that's now we thought Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland that connection was going to be overpowered. To have Jude Bellingham back there, a guy who's already had chemistry with Erling Haaland for the
Mm-hmm.
time they played at Dortmund, and the rest of the talent the City have. I mean, it would just be. It's just not. It would be like head scratching that City would not be able to win literally everything. And to be fair, I thought we thought it would be like that with Erling Haaland.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how is City not gonna just win everything now? But
Mm-hmm.
I think with Jude Bellingham, there's just no way. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like if they got Jude Bellingham, you just bet the house that they win everything because
Yeah.
how could you not? How you have
Yeah.
such a deep team and you have arguably one of the best midfielders in the world and one of the best strikers in the world and then one of the best coaches of all time.
Yeah.
It's like it's this entire slew of things. But yeah, I think that would be it's definitely would shake up the world.
Because it's looking like, I mean, ultimately, so for so long, it looked like it was a two-horse race between Liverpool and Real Madrid. But recently, it seems as if the recruitment by Jack Grealish and Erling Haaland from Jude Bellingham to come to Man City, it's now becoming a Real Madrid-Man City race because Liverpool are falling out. It looks like they're not going to be willing to pay as much as the other two. And obviously, I think Liverpool are going to maybe do a bit of a different transfer approach, and they're going to go for maybe a couple smaller signings instead of one big splash signing. Liverpool have always been a club that doesn't typically splash as much cash as a Manchester City, of course, or any other Premier League club in the Big Six. Even probably Spurs spend more money than them, and obviously that doesn't always lead to trophies, of course. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
Spurs, but I wanted to reiterate your point because ultimately, if it is coming down to a Manchester City and Real Madrid, battle, I just think Real Madrid, this okay, I agree with what you said. Obviously, if you have the chance to sign Jude Bellingham, you should go ahead and make that offer because it's Jude Bellingham. This is a generational player. This is the guy who can literally solidify your midfield for the next 15 years. I agree with that 100%. But when I look at Real Madrid right now, I say this team has multiple positions of need in this transfer window. Right back, right wing. I mean, this is needs. So you need to fix these positions. And is signing Jude Bellingham for 120 to 130, 140 million, is that really your best option? Because if you spend all that money on Jude Bellingham, are you really going to be able to fill in these positions that you need to fill in? Because we have seen Florentino Perez and this Real Madrid board not be willing to spend as much as maybe they've been in the past. So I don't know if going all in on Jude Bellingham is really the best play for Real Madrid. And it looks like if they're going to make a star signing, it's going to be Jude Bellingham. And I just don't know if that's the right move for them.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this so many times off camera, man. I mean, I've expressed what my tier list is of what's the importance. I think the most important thing is a right back and a right winger, and Jude Bellingham is neither of those things. But it's also like that maybe you bite the bullet now, you get Jude now, and maybe because you have Jude, he's not like oh we're signing a player that's in his prime right now, and we're only gonna have maybe 2 to 3 seasons for him. I mean, Jude Bellingham's not going to be available for a really long time. If you miss out on Jude now, you're basically never getting him. So it's kind
Yeah.
of you almost have to think of it like we get Jude now, and then maybe we still suffer from those, not having a right back and not having a right winger, and maybe that's a problem that carries into the next season after that, to where they can recuperate and make another move. So it could be a bit more methodical of like waiting and trying to build up instead of fully blowing up and spending 500 odd million on everything, because I don't think that's what Real Madrid's going to do. I mean, they just don't. Right now, they don't seem to have the finances with still trying to finish the stadium and all that.
Yeah.
I think when the stadium's fully up and finished, we're going to be able to get back to the financial spending that we used to.
The
The
Galactico era.
Galactico type era of signings. But I just on the more on the fence that if we can't, the players that we would need, maybe like a Reece James or a Hakimi, those players, a real world class right back, they're not available right now. But
You'd have to spend similar.
you'd have to spend almost similar to that to get them, and obviously they're not like really available. None of those players have spoken up to say they want to leave. So it's almost like a cold case starting from nothing. When Jude has, he's the most linked to leave. So he's just the one that's available, and he's the best player that's available. So it's kind of like he's there, you go get him. But
yeah,
I definitely think there's other teams like you said, like you mentioned, Liverpool, and even one that's in nowhere near the conversations, but I think they should be. I mean, PSG. I mean, shit. You don't have a midfield. This is the best midfielders. I mean, just
100%.
throw some oil money at him or something. Like at least throw your name in the hat at
Yeah.
least, but
Make an offer.
make an offer.
Because,
Like,
because
geez,
I think
just try.
I think signing Jude Bellingham now from Borussia Dortmund for 120 or 130 million is similar to PSG signing Mbappe when he was coming from Monaco.
Or even well, not Neymar because Neymar was already fully developed, but it's a similar time move to the Mbappe move.
Because look, because like Real Madrid, they tried to get Mbappe once he was what he was at PSG, and obviously that was impossible.
It
That's why
makes
it
it
didn't happen.
impossibly harder.
So let's just say Real Madrid, they miss out on getting Jude Bellingham now. He goes to Manchester City for 120 million. They're not going to get that opportunity. And even if they do want to buy him in 3, 4, 5 years, his price tag could be 250 million by then.
Yeah,
So
God
literally
knows.
his price could be doubled. So it's like if you want to get this player, you know that he could become, or maybe he already is one of the best midfielders in the world. 120 million, this is the best the price is ever going to get. And obviously, Real Madrid, it's just a tough case because you have Camavinga, who was a bargain of a signing. Obviously, you got him for a
Huge bargain.
steal. And Shoumani, who was even getting him for was it 80 million, was a bargain.
80 odd million, and I mean that was more of the smart business dealing because we sold Casemiro for 70 odd million and
You basically covered
covered it. It was
the
almost
transfer
a
fee.
straight swap.
So I mean,
Yeah,
for Real Madrid, their midfield is just so loaded. I mean, you've got Cruz, you've got Modric, you've got Camavinga, you've got Shoumani, you've got Ceballos is good rotation. So
as of right now, Real Madrid's midfield technically is already set for the next 6 odd years. I mean, if we can make it work, Fede Valverde, Camavinga, and Shoumani, all three of those guys are not even 25 years old yet.
That would work. I mean, that's
the oldest guy there is Fede Valverde. And I think he's in 22.
He's only 20, 23.
I think he's 22.
Yeah.
But obviously, that's another thing. I mean, what happens to one of those guys if Jude comes? We don't know. It's kind of one of those things that you don't think about because someone's that good and out there. But I kind of think of it more of like what's if you're in Jude's like a position. And I think the one that looks more antagonizing, I mean, the bigger challenge is to go to Spain, going abroad, because we always seen historically English players seem to struggle playing abroad, playing in Spain. And it depends on just what Jude's really made of, because it's a bit easier to go to the Premier League as an English player because, it's your home. You get to play in front of your fans. You don't have that language barrier.
But he's already like made a risky move when he went to Dortmund at his age.
We've seen a couple of English players kind of flourish. I mean, I think Bundesliga is a very good league to develop your talent. I mean, we saw how,
but not many players at his age,
Holland.
not many English players at his age would have said, "I'm going to go to Germany. I'm going to go play for Borussia Dortmund." Many players would have maybe stuck it out in a lower level Premier League club or something like that. I think that's what you typically see. So I mean, he's already been willing to go abroad. So I don't think the going abroad is the issue for Jude Bellingham. I just think it comes down to where does he actually want to go. I mean, he didn't pick a Premier League club after he left Birmingham and he went to Borussia Dortmund. So now it's like, I've developed. Do I want to go back into the Premier League? And obviously for English players, that's the most desirable league to kind of conquer, So it's just like, but the issue is, it's just like the clubs that, if you go to Man City, yeah, sure, you're probably guaranteed to win some titles. Liverpool, it's more of a like,
it's more of a like, you're going there for the project because you're so young. You can give them time to have a rebuild, but it depends on, does he want to win right now? Does he have the patience for that? Because
I think if Liverpool, even if they get Jude Bellingham next season, I don't think they're close to winning the Premier League.
No, it's something that's going to take time. And I mean, there's a lot of discussion that would have to happen behind the scenes because it's like, Jude goes there. It's like, okay, what can you guys guarantee me that, you guys are going to make moves, that something's going to happen to bring me some type of help?
Because they would have to make other signings. They still have to fix that defense. That defense is getting older, and obviously they just need some more depth signings. I mean, even if you sign Jude, they still have midfield. Like, Jude can't do it all on his own. He can't be the entire midfield, and that midfield is still lacking even if you get Jude. So you're going to probably need to sign another midfielder. They've been linked with Mateus Nunes and a couple other players, but they're going to have to make another signing in the midfield even if they get Jude. So it's like Liverpool is definitely a project. Like, even if they get Jude, they probably won't be in real contention to win the Premier League maybe for 2 to 3 seasons.
Yeah, it would definitely be more of a long process, multiple season plan, almost similar to kind of what Arsenal did. But obviously, Arsenal never spent that big on one player like a Jude Bellingham.
Yeah. And I saw something. Maybe this will be the final point because I saw something from obviously it was from Arsenal Fan TV, of course, but it was like, why isn't Arsenal in the conversation to sign a player like Jude Bellingham after what we've seen from Arsenal this season?
I don't know. I mean, it when it was the last time Arsenal really spent so big? Have they ever even spent over 100 million? I, I don't think
I
the
don't
closest
think.
they got to it was maybe what 70 odd
Um,
million for what
Nicholas Pepe.
Nicolas Pepe, and God,
That was
that was
that was
horrid,
a
but
horror signing. Yeah.
horrid. But I mean, for one of the biggest clubs in London, arguably the biggest club in the Premier League. I mean, we know how much fans Arsenal have. It's weird that they don't spend a lot. It's
I
just
don't.
not.
I don't
It's
think it
just not
comes
been
down
their
to.
thing.
I don't think it comes down to the fact that they can't afford it. I think it's just more like I don't know. They're just not really interested in spending that much money
That's
on this
never been,
player.
yeah.
They
That's
can
never really
afford
been,
it.
yeah.
The club obviously has the money to do it, but I just don't think. I think, especially when I look at this Arsenal team right now, I say, if I'm the Arsenal's owner, why would I go and spend 150 million on Jude Bellingham? We just won the Premier League. Maybe you make a couple signings here and there, but I think Arsenal in the next transfer window in the summer, they're going to make smaller signings and they're going to really focus on like extending Bukayo Saka's contract, extending Martin Odegaard, making sure they can keep the players that they have, the young players, for the long term.
Yeah, but the thing is, if Arsenal were to get like a Jude Bellingham, that's like more of a statement that we're here to stay.
I
Because
agree.
like let's say I think Arsenal are going to win the league, but I would not be so confident that they're going to repeat. They're going to go do it all again because I
No,
think
because I think
there is a
because I
bit of
think
a
Man City
fairy
would be
tale
low.
type storybook to how this season is going for Arsenal, and obviously that's not always repeatable. That's not something that's sustainable. And there's a lot of
Especially,
teams that are going to reload, like a Manchester City, that are going to get better. So Arsenal have to do the same.
mm-hmm.
But
Hey, you make a
we'll
good
have to
point.
see.
So maybe they will somehow get into this race. Obviously this race is far from over. It looks like at the moment it's between these three clubs, but ultimately, who knows? If Todd Bowley comes knocking with the 200 million offer, it
I mean,
might happen.
we saw some rumblings of that, and obviously, I'm sure he'll put a bid in because fucking why not?
I'm sure he
It's
will. But
you know
I just think these three clubs have been already in conversations with his dad and things like that. Like these three clubs look
yeah.
like
Madrid spoke to Jude Bellingham's dad, man.
They
I
had
mean,
agent Zidane trying to make it
agent
happen.
Zidane.
Jude Bellingham said in an interview that Zidane was like, his idol type thing. So,
Who isn't Zidane an idol of, man? I swear
if you're a
I've heard
midfielder,
that term.
Zidane has to be your idol.
I
That
mean,
guy was just
Jesus, man.
top
I've
notch,
heard so many
unbelievable.
players say it. Yeah,
I don't blame them. What a
it's
player.
Yuzu.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, he could be the future Real Madrid manager. But that's a video for another
Jesus
time.
Christ.
But I think ultimately, some good conversation here. Let us know in the comments down below. Who do you think will sign Jude Bellingham? Will it be Liverpool? Will it be Man City? Will it be Real Madrid? Or will it be a different club? Let us know in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. But I think without further ado, we can wrap this one up.
Let's get out of here.
So I'm Zach.
I'm G.
And we'll see you all next time for another video. Peace.